Okay.
Got it.
All right. Yes. You know, it's so funny. I be saying on my show, like, let's go. I'll be like, all right, let's go. And then one day I was like, where are we going? I keep saying let's go at the end of every show. And I was like, where the hell am I
Right
going?
on.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. So welcome to the Drop a Juice show with Malaka. I am your host, Malaka, of course. And today I have another special guest. As always, I always say my guest is special, but we have someone special. She's all the way on the West Coast, right? I have Gina Cavalier. How you doing, Gina?
how
Welcome.
you doing? Oh, it's so nice to see you. Hello,
Yes,
beautiful. Hello, beautiful people.
yes, yes. Thank you for being here today, Gina.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, you are such a beautiful soul, and we have so
Yeah,
much to cover today. So,
yeah, let's do
um,
it.
let's do it. So, Gina, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
When I want to ask you, what made you want to be on this show?
Um, it's one of my favorite things to do right now is to connect with other people that are, walking the walk, and they understand how much work it is, number one, and we kind of are just immediately aligned, like we're all helping each other. I love seeing this new um I love all the podcasts that are coming out, all people on YouTube. It used to just be like 6 media channels, you know what I mean? And that's where you got now. And it's one of the best things I think that's happened in the last, especially even since COVID, where we all have this voice. It's not just these 6 different channels telling us what to think and do.
Mhm.
It's blown wide open, and we'll be able to get friendships around the world. And I don't know,
Yes.
I think it's one of the best things that happen, to give people a voice.
Mhm.
um is so wonderful. It was so needed. It was just, we needed to have a variety of thought out there, and this has given us an ability to just blow up. And
Yeah, for sure. I like that point of view because I feel like the network, like we have there's strength in numbers, right?
Mhm.
So the more of us who are walking this walk, and we're going to talk about that walk in a second, but the more of us who are walking that walk come together and start talking and collaborating and using our voice, the powerful voices that we have, the more power we have. So I think that what you brought up a good point because with being on YouTube or being on different social media platforms, it allows us to have more control over the voice. The dominant narrative doesn't get to hold all the voices, right? That doesn't hold all the power. And I think there's a shift happening, a major shift happening right now. Sometimes people are saying, "Oh, there's so much bad stuff going on in the world." I'm like, yeah, but no. I'm like, I think there's a powerful shift happening, where people are just like diving deeper into like the mysterious, the unknown, their own voice, getting to know their self, getting to know energy, getting connected in different ways. So now, so I just wanted to say that, but you you brought up some really good points there. So this show is called Drop a Jewel with Malaka, right? So when you hear the word, have you ever heard the term drop a jewel?
Haven't, but all I can imagine is just drop something beautiful.
Sure, for sure. Yeah. So what comes to mind? So when you heard the term drop a jewel, you thought of dropping something beautiful?
Yeah, just, dropping a good quote, just something cool, something beautiful, something interesting. A jewel is a beautiful, what is a jewel? It's just something that the earth has created millions of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and through its love and talents and beauty, and it took millions different things to come together to make that jewel.
Yep.
And that's why they're precious. And and so now you're dropping something precious.
I like that. I always ask everyone this question, and I love that. And you're so right because even with the earth making stones and stuff, it takes millions of years or thousands of years to make a stone or whatever it may be, but they're beautiful and they're precious for a reason because it takes so long to be made. They're very unique, they're very special. But even with making each stone and each jewel, it's a hard process.
Mm,
It's a hard process to get to that beautiful point, to get to that stone. You know that when you see a diamond, we only see like the end result, right? We don't see everything that diamond had to go through to get to that
Yeah.
or that earring, right? So,
Oh, I just think everything that's the key to all life is to survive,
mhm,
you know, and literally to get through to the other side. Everything is hard. I mean, you said people were saying, everything's so bad right now. It's when wasn't hasn't it been? It's just different versions of it. But the last couple hundred years, especially, mankind has just really, had the opportunity to really do amazing things and has done amazing things. But there's sort of an energetic shift that I see happening right now, and
right? You feel that
the
energy shift,
light,
right?
yeah, the light is powerful though. The light holds, there's always going to be dark on earth. There just always is. It's like I describe it as like the sediment at the bottom of the lake. It's always bubbling right there, but you
Yeah,
can either rise above the sediment at all times or you can just float with it.
right,
And
right.
that's a decision I had to make a long time ago, because where how I was raised and how I was taught to think about myself, I could have hovered in the sediment for a long time and had a good time, you
Mm,
know but I really wanted something different for my life. I really wanted to rise above and get to a different place, and that takes work. That's just it's hard, just like a precious gem.
it takes that work. I was just saying
Yeah.
that. So, Gina, let's talk for a second. Let's
Okay. Hey.
before we get into the story, right? Let's talk about
Okay.
who is Gina Cavalier, right? Because I have you as a filmmaker, book author, illustrator, speaker, keynote speaker at that. I was
Mhm.
watching. But you're also the founder and the host of the Liberated Healer Podcast and company. So I feel like when I asked you that question, you said, just say mental health advocate. But I'm like, nah, you a lot more than that, but you
Okay.
do that too. But who is Gina? Who is Gina Cavalier?
I am a light being who struggled to be here on earth for a really long time because the dense energy and the harshness that that came towards me, and I had to really find out. I had to build my strength from the inside out, and and I literally am just in a way like a child of God. I am like, I don't always say that right out the gate, but I just feel that um, I'm here to communicate messages to other people. I'm here to shed light. I'm here to forgive. I'm here to forgive myself, forgive other people. And I'm just really, I see myself even now as I got older, back more like when I was a child, that innocence. I want to go back to that sweetness where the giggles are like you always have, where, you know, I mean, there you have to have strength because you have to deal with conflict. So, and it is difficult world in the sense of we're always going to have obstacles and conflict, and to
Yeah,
learn how to deal with that conflict. If we learn how to deal with it better, it wouldn't be so bad.
right, right, right. No, for
um,
sure.
we're perpetuating the dramas that we say that we don't want. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I just see myself now as sort of like this spark of light that
Yeah,
has a purpose, and I'm no better different than any other sparkle light. I'm just one of the sparkle lights, and I find drawn to other sparkle lights like you and other people that just want to share space and do good things, and elevate the world as much as they possibly can, and not focus on all the negative stuff, even though sometimes you have to stand up and have that voice and not
right,
be a doormat, because I believe that my collective, or the people that I'm like collecting around, we aren't doormats. Even though we're lights, we're not going to just lay down and let you walk all over us. So
right.
it's this
Hold on.
interesting
Let me do the
dichotomy.
face snaps. You know how they be doing.
Yeah. It's like an interesting dichotomy of being sweet and innocent and beautiful, but also being strong and having that balance.
Right.
Because I refuse to be a doormat anymore. I refuse to let people abuse me. Because even as I brought out this new book that we wrote out, it's called Surviving Suicidal Ideation. A lot of people already has, come out saying, oh, you're playing the victim, you know, things like that. I mean, I had suicidal
Right.
ideation
You're getting,
for,
wait, hold on. You're getting people telling you just came out with a, well, you're coming out with a book, and I know we're going to talk about the
yeah.
book. Um,
Oh,
you
yeah.
already, you already got people saying like, oh, you're playing victim.
Yeah. Well, it was from one of my family members, and it was, just, if what I've found, if people are really, a lot of people that don't like change. Now, change is going to happen, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't like change,
Right.
right? And when they see someone changing a lot,
Yep.
and they're not, they love to throw shade on that, because it's like, because internally they know they should be changing and growing, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not doing the work. They're not growing. They're not even, because it's too hard.
Yeah.
So
Right.
instead of supporting that person that's really trying to do the hard work, they judge them and knock them down.
Right. Right.
It's sort of like a human condition, but I, you know, it's, I'm
It's
not,
almost like human nature. It's
yeah.
like when you are trying to build yourself up or you're growing and evolving, you'll have those that are close to you or near to you or think they know you will say, oh, that's just Gina.
Oh, you know what?
She's
I've
just
had to I've had to really let go of so many people, and it was really hard for me, because one of my issues was abandonment,
mm.
because they weren't healthy. And when I created those relationships, I was not a healthy person, as in my boundaries.
Hold on, Gina. I'm sorry.
Okay,
You're already getting into it.
I'm
But hold on.
sorry.
Oh, no, don't be sorry because hold on. You just said something really important. I need to just kind of magnify that. In therapy, we call
Okay.
it magnifying, but I gotta magnify that. I gotta highlight that. Say that one more time. That just resonated so deeply. And then I know it was just a few words, but
Yeah.
you said when you are trying, like, wait, just go back. Say it again. I didn't want to say what you said, but
Okay.
it's not in a healthy place, right? When you built some relationships, right?
So I had abusive childhood. And so during that abuse, the pattern of my thinking was constantly looking for love and finding worthiness. So I was latching on to people that really were either toxic or unhealthy for me. And, but I didn't want to leave them because I had this fear of abandonment. So I would kind of do everything I could to make that relationship work. And it was making me sick. It was making me have diseases. It was making me ill mentally, physically, spiritually, everything, right? To find that strength to heal yourself, and then turn around and look at that relationship that you got when you were, it's also called sometimes trauma bonding, but to look at that relationship and go, wow, this person and I really, this person actually isn't even good for me, or we really don't gel as much as I thought we did.
Right.
And I have to let them go in a healthy way, because this doesn't feel good anymore. So
Yeah.
when you get the relationships when you're in a bad place, there's going to be some that have to fall away. And
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people, I think, stop the change, because they don't want, if they change too much, they're not going to relate to all their family and friends anymore. And that's a
Yep.
scary thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so it's so funny because not funny, but it's ironic because I always tell people, or always I always find myself having conversations, especially in the therapeutic process, around like change and making change. And sometimes change is hard because sometimes we're familiar with toxic lifestyles or life or toxic people, places, or things, right? Because we're familiar with it, we're comfortable. We know what to expect. We don't like it, but we know what to expect. We're comfortable. It's familiar. So that's where the change part is hard to do when you're familiar with something, right? So when you say, you know what, I don't think I want to be in this relationship or situationship, or I don't think I want to be around this energy, or I don't want to be around this place no more, then that's when there could be some discomfort because you get what I'm saying? Because you don't know what to do. And it was so I talked to a lot of people about like how sometimes when you're like when you finally leave or start shifting your reality and getting away from certain people, places, or things, I'll say, sometimes you're like, okay, you have extra time. You're like, wait, hold on. What
You
do
have
I
extra space. I
And
look at it as like space in a glass, you know, if you have more space and now you can fill it up with people that do relate to you now, or yes.
you can fill it out with people, you can fill it out with yourself, you can fill it more with you and getting to know
Yeah.
you or other things, but that quietness, right, can be scary for some people, or that change. It's like, wait, I don't have someone like, hurting me all day. Wait a minute. I don't know what to do with this. This feels uncomfortable. This feels
Oh,
weird.
big time.
That's why a lot of times people see people in bad relationships or something saying, how could she go back? Or how could he go back? And I'm like, it's not that easy. I get what you're saying on the outside, but sometimes when people are trying to make a shift, it's they will go back toward maybe not the person, but toward the lifestyle. And so they'll attract certain type of people, or they'll attract themselves to certain type of people, places, or things. So that's why.
I can resonate. I was with a guy for 6 years, and the 3 years I probably shouldn't have been with him. He was cheating on me with escorts.
Oh dang.
And I found out and I forgave him, and I knew he was still doing it. And I didn't have hardly any self-love at that point.
Mhm.
And I just felt like, oh, here goes another one. Here's another guy that cheated on me. But it took me a long time to let him go. And I started really working on my healing at that point, and then started loving myself and saying, I deserve so much better than that. But I can sympathize with someone in that situation, you know. My heart goes out to people stuck in a relationship like that. And I really hope they find the strength, because you are slowly chipping away at yourself, knowing that you're in a relationship that you don't agree with, you
Yeah.
know, like it hurts. You're hurting yourself every day. But when you
Mhm.
love yourself, you don't want to do anything that hurts yourself.
Nope.
It's like you don't want, and I never loved myself until probably, the last 10 years or something like that. But I didn't love myself. That's
How
why
do
I
you know
wanted
that?
the
How do
planet.
you know you never loved yourself until the last 10 years? How do you know such a thing like that existed? Like, I never loved.
Because I
How
loved
did you?
everything and everyone else but me. And I didn't realize I didn't put myself first. I put everyone else first because I was afraid that they would leave me, or, I put everyone else's belief. Oh, that's what you believe. Okay, that's fine. I really I would do anything to avoid a fight or a conflict.
Okay.
You know, I would, you're right, so I'm constantly not living in my authentic life. And then I
Mhm.
would go home and saying, I don't believe that at all. That is not who I am. I don't want to be in that, you know what I mean? And then like, why are you going towards something that you completely disagree with?
Yeah.
Why are you letting people tell you you're not worth it and things like that? And so slowly in healing, what meditation and yoga and walking and listening to music and going to energy classes and going to therapy and going to some church and going, with that, I started going, oh, I self, no, you can't do that to me, because that hurts me. And I got to put me first. That whole process it took me forever to realize it. And then
Wow.
once I realized that, everything switched. Every
Wow.
single person that comes in my life, we have, nobody's perfect, but they start with a respect.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
start with, like, we're kind of equal. There's a kindness, there's a respect, like
Yeah.
there's a trust. I'm not going to have to worry that they're going to go out and get escorts.
Wait, could I ask you, how did you find out about the escorts though? That's great.
Oh
I mean,
my gosh, she just had this 818 phone number, and I'm like, and for some reason, remember the phone number, and I typed it in, and it came up as some girl's escort page. And then I went back to my phone records, and I just saw, and then just chunks of text messages. Not, and then I went back, and it was, it'd be like months, and it'd be all different girls. And then I tried that in phone number 714 or whatever, and it'd be a girls page. And we were struggling financially. And
yeah.
so we were having
That's
this,
why. That's why he over
that's
there.
why
You want damn escorts. You
I
like
was
you.
thinking, I'm trying to save money on our food, and you're giving it away to somebody else just to get your rocks off. Like, I couldn't believe it. It was like, but
Oh,
even when I found out, he's like, please, baby, we went to therapy, and I knew in my heart that this is an addiction he had,
yeah.
because he was adopted. He felt like his mom threw him away. It was very deep. So even in therapy, I started feeling bad for him. You know what I mean? Because I was like, oh, he was adopted. And you know what I mean? I knew he was doing it again, because he really wasn't wanting to change all that much. You know what I mean? But yeah.
That's crazy. That's so crazy. So so she looked up the 818 number. Okay. We don't want to say the rest of the number. But,
Yeah.
but you know what? You said that you went to therapy and you were starting to feel bad for him in his situation. But guess what? Everybody got a situation,
Mm.
right? Like, and you brought up a good point. It's nothing wrong with having empathy. So let me just say
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
we are humans. We're supposed to do that. You're supposed to feel for other people. But one thing you mentioned is that he didn't want to change. He didn't want to change his lifestyle. So sometimes we end up trying to change a person or having so much hope for the person to change. And we have this image in our mind of what that's going to look like. And so we're kind of like, our motivations and inspirations in the relationship is like that change. But if the person don't want to change and they clearly saying like in their actions and their behaviors and even sometimes their words, they don't want to change. Don't matter how much hope you got, and it doesn't matter what story they got. There's a lot of psychopaths with stories, right? There's a lot
I
of
always look at that ball when I was a kid where it was like, you put a star in here and then you put a square in here and you're trying to jam that star into the circle.
Oh yeah, you're trying to force something to be that's not
No,
supposed to
it's not
be.
going to work.
You know,
And so, yeah.
no, go ahead, because that's
No, it's just great because when you get to that point, you also understand that you just can let everybody go and you don't take on that responsibility anymore. And then you say to them, hey, I actually do care for you. That's why we connected. But
right.
I'll be supportive here. I will, if you want to talk to me as an adult and a respectful human and be open and honest. I'll talk to you. I won't yell at you. I won't like talk down at you because you're on your own journey. But I'm not going to give away myself to you though anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you all my good juju.
Juju, okay. Don't give up the juju, but just because you care for somebody, see, I can care from you from a distance. I can care from you like, you know what? I know you gotta go away and we have to end this relationship or end this partnership or whatever it may be. Doesn't mean I don't care for you, but I just know that it doesn't fit. Just like you said that what is it? The triangle to go into the circle. It don't fit. Like if it don't fit, it don't fit. And I think a lot of us try. I want to get into something because we're about to go deep. We're about to go real deep, but we be trying to force like most of us. I think one of the biggest problems with life is we be trying to force something to be that's not supposed to be or as it should be, right? And then we get mad and frustrated with ourselves, then we get depressed, we get anxious because things aren't what they ain't supposed to be. And I'm getting into this thing of like just letting things be. And I've
Oh my
always heard
gosh.
that term when I was young, like just let it be, just let it be. But now I actually, when you go through life and life is life, and then you have to go through all these life experiences to understand, like, aha, I know what it means to let it be. Like sometimes you just gotta let things be. And
A lot of times you have to let things be.
yeah, I just be letting stuff.
Having unrealistic expectations is where you're going to be disappointed in the end. So
Mhm.
I kind of sometimes have low expectations for things. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And not with hope that they're great, but then my expectations are low. And then if it comes out great, like it's, the expectation is also that anxiousness and that wanting to control others and control the future. Oh,
But you know,
that's a lot of work
that's
with
anxiety.
very little reward. And all that work could have got into something that you enjoyed more. Like you want to be an artist, you want to be an actor, you want to, or you want to write a book, or you want to plant a garden, or you want to volunteer at the, old folks home and give people life, or you want to work with animals. So many wonderful things to do that could fill your heart.
Yeah.
That if you start really looking at your glass of water of time during the day, and it's like, am I gonna, because if you're trying to, and I look at it as a funnel of energy, right? And it's like, you can see, where does control go? Jealousy, you know, fear, anxiety, sadness, revenge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Joy, happiness, love, empathy, compassion. And you kind of can just I look at almost everything, like, where am I on this spectrum of this spiral?
Mhm.
And if I have to dip to the jealousy, or if I have to dip to it, don't stay there too long. Just understand you're dipping into that part. And does it feel good? Is it taking you in the right place? And if not, go, no, what do I have to be jealous about? Like, and you start going back into yourself, you know, I got myself, like, and you start going back and, okay, I want to work on a few things, but
Yeah.
you got given this beautiful suit for a reason, it's uniquely you. I mean, with the best thing about who we are is that everybody is different, and and we have to embrace our uniqueness, and we're not teaching people that. if
Nope.
we if we There's a spiritual thing about our body and how we came in, and if we go and change it too much, like Cole, get the whole thing, honestly, you're not connecting, you're not aligning with yourself spiritually anymore if you completely change your outward look
Yeah.
just to please something else, because you're going to age in 40 years. What's all that stuff going to do with you? It's like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. A lot of people be trying to change so much on the outside. It's like, nah, you don't gotta do that. You could just,
you
if you
know,
could do a little bit on the inside, you're gonna be all right. But people
you know,
don't
I
do.
had I had breast implants when I was like 25, and because I was super flat, like, and all my friends, they grew up in the 80s, and so it was all, Poison and all these girls, and they all were like, just had these great big boobs and everything like that. And I really, once I had the money, I went and got them, and they only lasted 10 years. And the interesting thing,
Oh, wait, hold on. They only last like a certain time frame?
well, they do. No matter what breast implants, you're going to have to replace them. Everybody will within 10 or 15 years. And then the replacing of them is even harder than the original surgery. They have to cut them out. And so
Ooh.
almost anybody who has breast implants are going to wind up with scarred boobs at the end of the day, no matter what. Right. So, but what happened to me is I started going down a spiritual path and meditating a lot. And, as soon as I got like more connected to who my real self was, I'm not even kidding you. Um, One of them burst, and I just woke up one day and it was flat, and I was like, "What happened?" And I went to the doctor. He was like, "Well, we'll just put new ones in." I said, "Oh no, my body is pushing this
Yeah,
out,"
yeah.
and
It's
it
like,
and it
come on.
happened while I was getting more in touch with my spirituality. As I was getting more in love with myself, my body says, "You don't need this no more."
That's
And
crazy.
another thing that, well, your body will physiologically try to push out what's not right with your body. Like,
Foreign, that doesn't belong, inauthentic,
yeah.
right? Something that's
And they
not
don't tell you that. So your body's constantly trying to push those out.
wow.
But
Well,
when you start to do spiritual work, your spirit is also trying to push it out. They're like, no, that's not how we originally designed you, girl.
you know what, Gina, that is an amazing story. Wait, not that you had to have that
Yep.
happen to you, but I'm always thinking about life and how things happen and the body and how dope and beautiful the body is and how connected everything has to work together. And a lot of times people when I meet with people for therapy or just in general, a lot of times there's more emphasis on how you thinking, how you feeling, that type of stuff, or how you eating, things like that, like the medical, the physical components, the emotional components, but there's so less emphasis on the spiritual component, right? Of healing and treatment and life. And so I feel like oftentimes I feel like a lot of people are spiritually dead, right? And so that's why we continue to like, oh, she's about to be, you about to get excited here, right? Like she's about to be like, okay, I want to talk about this. But a lot of people are spiritually dead. But I think I think that story is just so powerful how you just showed us. I think this is going to help some people that need to hear this, that before you make that move, right? Think about who you really are. Think about your
Well,
body. Think about who you
two,
are.
300 years ago, I mean, think about the Indians. Spirit is the most important thing for them. They work on their spirit all day long. And,
Mhm.
yes, I need to eat meat, but I'm going to capture this animal. I'm going to honor them and things like that. Like they look at the circle of everything about life. We lost that. We kind of got that program out of us, when really like big money started coming in. If you look at the history of it, like when like big money started coming in. Oil was needed, and the trains and stuff like that. And like really rich people came in and started, and then there was a class system, you know what I mean? And once the class system came in, that's when people started, and then they put religion in, and then they add that, and then that religion put everybody into a box, but then people lost their spirituality. They were like, they actually had laws in the United States that said you weren't allowed to perform certain dances because it would bring up ancestors of the dead.
Wow.
It was basically and they weren't even repealed until like the 1970s. You weren't allowed to do certain dances. The ghost dance, that song Ghost Dance.
Look that up.
Sitting Bull was killed by one of his own, that they said, if you kill him, we're going to give your whole family all this money, all this, we're going to turn you into a sheriff, and you have to cut your hair though. You have to cut that long black hair, and you kill Sitting Bull in front of thousands of people. And his own did that. And that's when I'm just listening. It is spiritual though. And that's when all that time, that's when spirituality started to leave who we were, and we started to become little machines, right? And now the corporate and the big man and all the money has constantly been putting us into these little boxes, taking away our spirituality. No wonder people it's more modern. There's more money than we've ever had in the world, but people feel like they don't have enough. There's more medicines than anything we've had in the world, but we're all sick. And there's more people, but there's more people committing suicide than any time on the entire planet. Wow. This isn't adding up.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
It's not adding up. So we have to go back to spirituality. We have to go back to
spirituality is the key. And you're right. And I think I want to mention this too, even in social work, right? A lot of people don't know the history of social work in this country as a profession. Now there's a lot of racism in the history of social work itself, because it was typically, generally like affluent white women and their rich oil tanker husbands, and they're like, oh, go help the little poor indigenous communities and kids and whatever, right? And so, but it has evolved, but it was more so like a service model. But when pharmacology came into place, right? So social work started as a pharmacology, a service model, helping people, right? But when pharmacology came into place, it changed the whole game. And I'm not saying like, people take medications for whatever reasons, but pharmacology shifted the paradigm of, okay, we want to make more money forever. So in order to do that, and I'm not saying like, nothing against medications helping people or not. What I'm saying is the model of how it shifted, even the way this country itself, like the way people get help, the type of help they get when they're feeling down or they need support and things like that. It's all connected to this model versus like this model of like, connecting with people's the intersections of life, like their faith, their spirituality, their health. And you go to the doctor, you say, hey, I'm having this headache. They don't say, oh, what did you eat today? They don't really ask those questions. They don't say, well, what you been eating, what you been thinking, what you been going through. They'll say, well, I have a medication that you can take.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, they don't connect like the dots. Some do, and not all doctors, but some do. But the model itself, it's not a spiritual model, sis. It's not a model that supports or reinforces spirituality. So that's why I go back to saying a lot of us are spiritually dead, because now you're going to leave that doctors and go eat some spiritually dead food, right? And then you're going to go be around spiritually dead people who are just as, worse off. And then you're going to be like, well, why should I even, what's next? And I think,
well, then you go on social media and then you even feel more dead, because
that right there.
I mean, honestly, I'll go beyond it, and I'll just like, and then I'll be like, that my second self is like going, this isn't fun. Like there's just like, well, you know what I mean? I start to go, this is just kind of boring now. I mean, I don't know. I love to check out my friends really quick, and then I just got to get out. You know what I mean? But like it's, I love the podcasting though, and the like I love the channels. I think that's, to me, is my favorite. I'm just talking about the little post. That just seems like
social media has got us to the point. Before, you used to connect with somebody, call them, they get back to you. Social media got people thinking like, I don't have to get back to them for months, or I don't have to call them back, I'll just text. Like it's made us not have any connections. All our connections are just these videos or these pictures and these images of things that we think are true because our mind sees it and we think it's true, but oftentimes it's not. I was just telling someone about this the other day. I said, listen, I said, I'm not really like a social media person. I got on social media because of the podcast because I really
Yeah.
think this is important. But I was like, I'm really not interested. I was like, yo, I'm like, I'm not like you just said, like, this is kind of boring. Like, this is
Well,
not
I
like,
used to love that when I heard the phone ring in my house and I would have to run downstairs or something and pick up the phone on the wall. Hello. It was so exciting. Who's calling? You know what I mean? And it's like, I love calling my friends, but I'll look up I'll want to talk to some people and I'll look at, and I know that they're not phone people. They only communicate via text. Like, they'll be shocked if the phone rings and then they'll reply to you, what's up? On text. And you're like, I just wanted to talk to my friend. Yeah.
right. Why is that the norm now? Right. Like, so like, it's not a coincidence that that same story that you said, that's not just unique to you. That's unique to me. That's unique to everyone else. Like, I know, like, that is the new norm. Why? Social media has conditioned us, right? Because when we connect with our loved ones, if you're feeling down and you go around your people, what happens?
Well, the people I have in my space now, though, because I've found people that are more like the way I want. Like, I
Yeah,
call, they can't wait to talk to me. They get on there, we chat, and like,
right, right.
so but
But
I did have to
what
find
happens?
people, but I had to find people that wanted to act the way I want to act, and they're out, and it is a conscious thing. It's like, you know that you kind of want more FaceTime, you want more friends that have deep, like I love having intellectual conversations. I love having intellectual friends.
Right.
And I also like to go to the pub and have a pint. This is what I like. I know what I like. So I like to surround myself around people that when I call, like, they're excited to hear me. And
Right.
but that took a lot of awareness because, like I said, um, I've had to kind of clean the house and being like, that person doesn't act that way or doesn't want that. I'm not going to force
Right.
them. So the control, but a
Right.
lot of people, what they'll do is they'll throw that back on themselves. Why don't they want to talk to me? And it swims in their head, and they're going back to old trauma of like their mom, the mom and their dad ignored them or whatever like that. And nobody loves me. And then they'll go back into this storyline. And that's where depression comes, you start to talk bad about yourself. I mean, I would tell people that nobody could have lived in my head and felt good about themselves at certain points. The
Mm.
way that I spoke to myself,
Wow.
the way that
Wow.
I talked about my body and my education. I was really embarrassed by my education because I left home. I had to move out and take care of myself at the age of 14. So
Okay,
I tried to go back to school, and I was doing 2 jobs, and I always wanted to go to college. It was a dream of mine, but you can't do that when you're living on your own since you're a kid. And that's why this book is a dream, because I always wanted to write a book ever since I was a little girl. And everybody told me, well, you're not educated, that's not gonna happen for you. Everybody told me, and I believed it so much because they're like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Who
That's
told you
not
that?
going to happen. Everybody.
Who's that?
And I always had people put me in boxes all the time. Oh, you're blonde. You're cute. Go be a salesperson. Go be a hostess. Go, you know what I mean? And even now when I write a book, like I'm not even kidding you. I had this gentleman who is a publisher, and he became kind of a friend, and we would talk once in a while. When I sent him the link of like my book on Amazon, I couldn't believe it. He was like, oh, yay. Can I see your boobies now?
Wow. What was the first thought you had when he said that?
It was like, do you know how hard it is to write a book? Like, he has I was like, wow. Yeah. Just so disrespected. And I went cold, and he's like, oh, I guess I'm sorry. And he told people, I think Gina's kind of mad at me. And I was like, I just was like, no, no, thank you anymore. But it hurt. It was like a kick in the stomach because I'd had this dream to be a published author. It took me to get a publisher was so much work. To write the book, I did 30 illustrations in it by my hands, all hand ink. Like,
Yeah.
Every line has love in it.
Wow.
And to get the publisher and to have them all lay it out, and to get there, and to have this gentleman who is, to me, I would have called a gentleman because he owns a publishing company. He came from Cornell University. He's somebody I looked up to intellectually.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just degraded to the girl with the blonde hair and the blue eyes. I'm like,
That's
wow.
not that's
And
not your
that's just,
story, but that's the
it's so programmed into us. And I mean, he recognized it was wrong, but getting away from that box everybody constantly wanted to put me in. I had an agent once tell me, your artwork's great, but you should never write again. And she was a TV agent, and I think I stopped writing for 2 years after that. And
you okay?
because it just sat in my head, and I just played it over and over again. You're not a writer. You'll never be a writer. But what happened is that I wanted it so bad. Eventually I was able to push all that stuff out of my mind
Yeah.
because my heart wanted it. The desire was strong. And once I got stronger, I was ready to say, I'm going to write. I don't care if nobody reads it. I'm going to do it. And
Gina,
so,
I want to ask you, I want to pause for one moment, right?
okay.
So you have this book coming out in June, right? And the title of the book is Surviving Suicidal Ideation from Therapy, Spirituality, and the Lived Experience, right? So this is a
Yes,
book
ma'am.
co-authored with Gina, so it's yourself, Gina Cavalier, and Dr. Amelia Kelly, right?
Yeah.
That's a strong title, Gina. Surviving Suicidal Ideation. You come right out the back. I mean, sometimes it's even when I first seen that title, and we remember we first talked, and I was like, hey, I was just watching this movie. Just came out about suicidal ideation. This woman trying to survive and live and learn what living means and a new meaning. But that's a tough term to even say sometimes, right? Like surviving suicide. Like, no, did you feel like when you came out with that? Well, first of all, what's the inspiration behind that title? First of all, because I need to know like the
Um,
backstory. That's a strong title,
Yeah, and you know what? I even asked the publisher, "Do you want us to change the title, lighten it up?" They said, "No, we love it." It was boo, and I was like, "Okay."
right? To your
Um,
point.
but everything that lives, the number one goal is to survive.
That's
And
right.
I'll give you two examples that are beautiful because it helps us to understand why we need to survive. For example, a flower, you take a flower like a sunflower, right? It works constantly to move itself in the right light. Oh, I need this light to survive. Oh, the rain's coming. I'm going to go over here and grab the rain. Oh, I need a little bit of shade, right?
That's a
And
good point.
it's just trying to survive. This little flower is just trying to survive. Oh, the roots, the soil isn't so good. I'm going to go a little bit farther, try to squeal some roots over here that has better. I mean, that's what it's doing. Every little root that you see is an effort for it to get better soil and things like that. And then when it figures out it's not going to live anymore, that it's starting to wilt and it's starting to die. It's like, I'm not going to make it. What it does is it pushes out all the seeds from the inside so it can
Mhm.
fall to the ground
Wow.
so new flowers can be born
Wow. I didn't
before
know.
it goes. So that's surviving, you know, and we have to all push through, just like the flower. We have to look towards the sun. We have to grab the rain. We have to kind of manipulate. So it's like, so we have to survive that suicidal ideation, no matter what you need to do to get out of it, no matter what you have to do to retrain your mind, body, and spirit. When you're suicidal, you feel numb from head to toe. You feel disconnected from everything and everyone. I wasn't even depressed. I just didn't want to be here. I felt unloved. I felt like I didn't belong into any group. I had a lot of friends, celebrities even, go to big celebrity parties, walking in with fancy clothes and things like that. I didn't feel like I was in any circle. I didn't belong anywhere.
Wow.
And that outside that circle, just how come I'm not in that circle? How come I'm not okay in that circle? I just felt kind of pushed out by everybody. And so I just really believe like, there's no more fit here for me, you know?
How long do
And
you feel like that for?
my first thought was when I was 8, because I had an abusive father. Um, and then they got divorced and I wound up living with my father, you know. So I had to run away from him because he almost beat me to death at 11. So that's why, and then I went and lived on my own. But so I just you know, that was a part of my life, and I actually sold my house. Okay, I was like, I don't want to be here. I was literally thinking about myself. And I go, oh my God, I've owned my home for like 25 years. I'm going to sell it because I have like $500,000 equity in the house. I live in California. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to spend all that money and then I'm going to heal myself. Because I was like, at least I'm going to go spend $500,000. And I did. I did. I paid for my friend's lawyer bills. I donated to animal shelters. But it was so weird as I was giving away all my money. It was my entire retirement. It's all the money. Even still, I don't even have a retirement right now. I gave away all my retirement, but it was weird. That healing started to come in as I started releasing my attachment to money. Not worried about having a house and having that money and having this and having that, right? As I was just going, your cat's sick? You know, you have lawyer bills? And I started, I'll buy you that. I'll buy you that. It was really weird. I mean, because I was also working on my spirituality at the same time, but then something really started to click because I let go of the attachment to money.
Wow.
And when we let that go, and then we fall in love with ourselves, and then I found a life purpose, it's like nobody can stop me now. Nobody, not even me. I mean, it's just like I can't. It changed everything. It
You
changed
found your
everything.
purpose.
And so,
Find your purpose. How do you know it was what was your purpose?
well, it showed. I started doing a lot of healing work, and I was doing free healings on people. I did hundreds of free healings on people. I started getting filled with joy by how I was helping other people, and people saying, "Oh my God, Gina, I thank you for that healing. I feel so good. Like I feel so great. Thank you for authentically
Wait,
listening."
what's a healing? Wait, we might have to get one right now. Hold on. But
Okay.
what's a
Um,
healing?
Well, I went to learn about how energy works, and I would work on energy, clearing out people's chakra systems and the energy in their body.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I follow you. Okay.
So I do past life healings. I do all kinds of things. I mean, because as I dove into spirituality, I mean, I started seeing all kinds of crazy stuff. But I could look at, I can feel what people are going through. I can feel it, and I can heal it for them. I do healing, and I did hundreds of free healings. So I went into service, not realizing that almost did like in a weird way, like the Jesus thing. I gave away all my stuff. And I started doing healings on people. And that's when I fell in love with myself.
Wow. So you found your sense. It sounds like you were fulfilled. There was some fulfillment there. Like
Yeah. I don't think if I didn't sell my house and give everything away,
and never
even
do.
though that sounds crazy, I mean, I think about it now as I'm doing my business. Wow, it would have been great to have that money now. You know what I mean? Like I could hire
Sure.
a social media person, I could hire someone to help me with this and that and stuff. But I don't have regret about it because I left the attachment with I call it pentacles or coins. I left my attachment with money. Money is just energy. We put so much energy on money, and we give it so much power. It's actually just an energy, and it can be a negative energy or a positive energy.
Talk
But when
about
it's
that. Talk about the energy part. Let's go into that. Money.
okay, well, I mean, quantum physics is all energy. I mean, all the greatest minds talk about energy. All the smartest people in the world talk about energy. It's here. You can't deny it. We all have it. We have energy up and down our entire bodies. You know, every part of us, our organs, our minds, everything is full with energy. We vibrate. Everything living has energy. A plant, a carrot has energy. I mean, animals. You know.
That's how I explain death to some people sometimes. Like I explain it to in a way of like, sometimes when people are grieving, they're like, my loved one's gone forever. And I'm like, well, no, not necessarily. Sometimes I'm like, well, you do know the laws of science and energy, right? And they were like, yeah, or they'll look it up or whatever and say, oh, it can't be destroyed. It just, energy cannot be destroyed, right? It just changes its form basically. And
No.
so I
And
said,
you can't create any new energy. It's just energy.
that's right. So if we're beings, as beings, we are balls of energy, right?
Yep.
And a person passes away, right?
Mhm.
Well, where does that energy go?
Well, that's why spirituality, when you actually connect to it, is so beautiful. So you have your physical body, and then you have your spirit, and you have, well, then you have your soul. Actually, they're two different things. So your spirit is your belief system around how the world works and energy works. That's spirit, right? Soul is that spark of light that is basically like the God source. It's almost like you're a tiny, the quality of a star or a planet is in within all of us, a tiny bit, if you think about how freaking cool that is.
Oh no,
Okay, so
yeah.
it's like physical, spiritual, soul connection, right?
Mhm.
So when you have this physical body, there's a cord that cords us between our soul and our physical body that always stays connected while we're alive.
Hmm.
When we die, that cord breaks and the body dies, and then the soul kind of continues. And what happens is the souls that are kind of around, it's like almost like a web, like you would, like a spider web, and all that, we become a part of all the ethos and all the information, and it really is everything all at once. And it's just a part of the information that's just out there. We can channel. I channeled the guy who started Swedenborg Foundation, who's the publisher of our book. He died in like 1700 something. His name's
Yeah.
Emmanuel Swedenborg. Me and my friends channel him, and we ask him about the book and what else we might be missing, and if he give us any guidance. I mean, and because he's a part of that ethos system, like him as a soul, his soul,
Yeah.
that's the light, uh
Yeah.
he can still kind of communicate with us. And they it's they know how to speak to us in our language that we know at the time. And it's everything all at once. So my friend just passed away in December from advanced Lyme disease, that
Hmm.
she had trouble with the vaccine actually. And
Hmm.
and she died. And I see her, I hear her all the time, and she sends me up. It was almost instant, because she was such a good person. She didn't have to go through a big healing phase when she passed away. Because what happens is, okay, then now you die, that soul actually goes through life review. Everything in your life will be reviewed. And first they show you all the bad things, unfortunately. And you actually are sitting around there with your guides and your ancestors, and it's almost like a movie player, and they will show you everything. Even if like you pulled a cat's tail just to hurt it for no reason, you'll see that. And you'll feel how you made the other thing feel.
Hmm.
You shoot a bear, you're gonna have to feel what it felt like to shoot a bear for no reason, and you had no respect for it, and you didn't eat it, and you didn't use it to feed your family, and you didn't say thank you. You're gonna have to feel what it felt like to shot that bear. Honestly, so you have the bad, but you're judging yourself. You're not being judged by everybody. You're only judging yourself. And then you get to see all the great things that you did in life. And then they say, well, and then you get a big healing, and then you go through a healing process before you get to come back. And that's how I understand it or have seen it. But it's really quite beautiful. And so we all are unique, but we're all going to go through the same thing at the end of the day. So why not make it easier on all of us and just do as good as you can? Because you're going to see it. You're going to feel it. People that do horrible things to horrible people, you know, I have a list, pedophiles are right up there. I mean, honestly,
Hmm.
as a culture, that makes me more mad than anything in the entire world. Like, that we have to eradicate that. Like, the same fact that we have as much as we do, like children
Oh my
trafficking.
goodness, pedophilia is like, it's right because you can commit a crime or something like if you harm a animal, right? If you harm a dog, your ass will be lit like, you know what I'm saying? Like the court will light your ass up. If you harm a pet or something, you will get in significant trouble. But if
Yeah.
you harm a child,
Oh,
oh,
it takes forever.
gotta go. People talk about how bad pedophilia is, but even within the culture of like kids cartoons, when I have 4 kids, and when I'm telling you, I'm like, wait, hold on, what did they say on that cartoon? Like when I'm
Oh
actually
my
sitting,
gosh.
and I'm like, wait, what? I went to Target the other day. No, not the other day, a couple months ago, and there was a book in the kids aisle, no lie, and it had a baby, like it had like a kid's butt like out. No, listen, seriously, a kid's butt out. I took a picture of it and I was like, wait. Like it was
No.
the kid's
What?
butt was out and it was like something about and my son, my 6-year-old son said to me, "Mommy, why would they have something like that in the store? That's so inappropriate."
Oh my gosh.
My 6-year-old.
That's sad.
Now, a 6-year-old knows that's inappropriate, but the store don't. And so I was like, that's not a kid's book, but it's
Wow.
it's marketed